Well, hello everybody. Hope everybody is well today. I thought we'd make some shepherd's pie since I have a lot of mashed potatoes left over. All right, so that's a good way also to use up your leftover mashed potatoes. All right, first thing I get going is I got 3 pounds of hamburger. You don't have to make that much. Whatever this recipe I'm telling you how I make it, you can always split it in half if you want, okay? But right now I've got 3 pounds of ground beef and a little bit of olive oil on cooking, okay? And then when that gets almost cooked, I'll take you over to the stove and tell you other stuff, because you're going to need onion powder, garlic powder, your flour. You're going to need like at least 4.5 cups of beef broth, or you could make your own broth. You could even use your homemade beef gravy if you had some, or jarred or canned beef gravy. You could also throw in, instead of beef broth, you could use chicken broth. Pretty much, you know, you have quite a few different choices, you know, whatever you like to work with. And you're going to need some tomato paste. And a lot of people I know put already frozen mixed vegetables in with theirs, but I'm using what I have in the refrigerator: my canned corn, some of my canned carrots, and some canned peas. I'm not quite sure yet how much. I mean, I'll let you know after I get it all measured out and everything how much I'm going to be using of each, so you know. Or you can just buy the bag of the frozen mixed vegetables, okay? And when it's all said and done, I like to throw on some sharp cheddar cheese on it, and this is an 8-ounce package that I'm going to be using. Okay, and obviously you're going to need salt and pepper and your flour as we thicken the sauce, okay? So if you want to get out your ingredients while you're waiting, and then I'll tell you the exact amounts when we go over to the stove, okay? In the meantime, I'm going to drain my vegetables and see how much I'm going to be using, and warm up my potatoes a little bit so they're easier to spread out on top. Okay, my 3 pounds of hamburger is all cooked, okay? And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 6 tablespoons of flour. Stir that all up in there real good. That's going to help thicken it. Kind of hard here with the whisk with a hamburger. All right. Let that cook for a couple of minutes. This is a really good shepherd's pie. And like I said, it's also a good way to use up leftover mashed potatoes. Yeah, I changed from the whisk because I was getting caught in it, so just using this. All right, now I'm going to add in 3 good tablespoons of tomato paste, and I'm just using the Hunt's. Okay. That's going to really help spark up the flavor. You could also use a little bit of ketchup if you wanted to, but if I went with ketchup, I probably would put also a little bit of mustard in it, whether it's regular mustard, dry powdered, you know, or even a little Dijon. You know, it's what you have and what you like. But I think this just really helps boost the flavor up too a little bit. All right, just get that mixed up in there real good. Turn up the heat just a little bit. Now, I call this shepherd's pie some people, because of the ground beef and stuff, probably would call it a cottage pie. I'm not sure if the shepherd's pie is actually the meat that they normally use in it is with lamb or not. I couldn't remember. But anyway, and this shepherd's pie is not like with chicken pot pie because we don't make any pie crust for this. Okay? All right, that looks good. All mixed in. Now, I'm going to add my beef broth, which I'm using the collagen beef broth. Okay, just stir that all in really well. Oh, somebody's here. And that's 4.5 cups that I'm using of the beef broth, okay? Just stir that all in real well. Let that cook for a good few minutes. And if you don't have much grease from your hamburger, if it's only a little bit, I would just leave it. That'll just give it extra flavor, okay? Now, for spices, I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Now, if you didn't want to use onion or garlic powder, you could use a few cloves of garlic and just mince it real good. And then you could just chop up an onion real fine and put in with it. You know, it's what you like. You could even chop up and put sweet bell peppers in it. The color doesn't matter, you know, green, red, yellow. Whatever you have, just throw it in there. All right. And now I'm going to add kosher salt, 3 teaspoons. Like I said, you can always taste it at the end. And then if you want a little bit more salt, then obviously you can put it in. Okay? You just want to make sure everything's stirred up real well. And last but not least, I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, or Worcestershire, however you say it. That's always been one of them sauces like, well, how do you pronounce it? Is it Worcestershire, Worcestershire? I just say Worcestershire. Okay, let that cook just for a few minutes. And then I'll bring this over to the counter and we'll finish dumping what we need to in it, okay? All right. Okay, I brought this over to the counter. That's what it looks like. Okay, now let's add our vegetables in. All right, I have 2.5 cups of my canned corn. You can just use either, like I said, a bag of frozen mixed vegetables, or canned, or if you can your own vegetables, it's even better. Okay, so I have 2.5 cups of corn here, 1.5 cups of peas, so that makes 4 cups, and then I have about one cup and a few pieces left over from my carrots that I canned. Okay, so 2.5 and 1.5, that makes 4, and then another one, 5. Okay, so I'm gonna dump the corn in. Everybody loves corn, so I'm gonna dump my corn in. We'll see how much of the vegetables I'm gonna use. I just measured out. Put in whatever vegetables you like, you know. All our favorite here is corn, so that's why I'm putting in the corn first, make sure that all goes in. That was 2.5 cups. Because I might not even eat all these vegetables. Now, I'm going to put in about 1 cup of peas and see how that's looking. Let's give it a good stir. Actually, I'm going to put them all in. Now these carrots, they're sliced. If you wanted to, you could cut them up into a little bit smaller pieces, but everything's cooked. Your meat's cooked. When you can stuff, they're all set to go. You just got to heat them up, okay? So I'm just going to use it all. I always say if you have the opportunity to can, it really makes it nice. It comes in so handy. Because there's times, you know, you get so busy, it's like there's not enough hours in the day, you know, or you got to go somewhere, or you're not, you know, you get home late, or you're not feeling well. It's nice when you can just grab something off the shelf that you've done, you know. All right, that looks really, really good. All right, now what we're going to do is get a large pan that it's going to fit into, and I'm going to use this 4.5 quart. That should be plenty big enough. All right, now let me just use this little spatula I use for the potatoes. All right, I kind of want to show you what it looks like first before I dump it in. See, I wanted carrots because I wanted the color. Can you see that? Okay, so now I'm just going to dump it right in. Oh, cast iron's heavy. Okay. Ooh. Whew. That was heavy. All right. Guess that was a good idea to go with a 4.5 quart. All right. You do know that your regular 13 by 9s, they're a 4 quart, okay? In case you didn't know. And that leaves me plenty of room for potatoes because I had a lot of leftover potatoes. I still have, oh shoot, another one of these containers still full of my mashed potatoes. But in this bowl, and I didn't want to use all that mashed potatoes on this. It would be too much. All right, so let's see. I've got 8 cups of mashed potatoes in this bowl that I'm going to use. Now remember, everything's been cooked, so all you're going to do is, when you're ready to bake it, a 350 oven, and just till everything heats up and your cheese is nicely melted, which is optional. I like cheese. Everybody here likes cheese, so I'm going to put cheese on the top of ours. Now, like I said, you don't have to. That's optional, okay? And if you weren't using cheese, what I would do, I would take a little bit of paprika and just sprinkle over the top of the mashed potatoes. And maybe sprinkle in a little bit of dried parsley, and that will give it some pretty color, okay? You just want to cover it all up with your mashed potatoes. Well, I guess that was a pretty good guess, 8 cups. All right, now like I said, you don't have to make this much with a 3 pounds of hamburger, you know? You could make just a small little container of it if there's only a couple of you. But you know what? It also will make a great lunch the next day, if you should happen to have any leftovers. Okay? And just spread it out. And there it is. And like I said, everything's cooked, so just throw it in, get everything all nice, hot, and bubbly, and I would put it in for about a half an hour on 350. And if you're not using cheese, you know, you want your potatoes nicely golden. All right, now let's put on the cheese. I have 8 ounces of the sharp cheddar here. We're just going to put that right on, just like that. Okay, 8 ounces worked out good. All right, and there's the shepherd's pie. All right, now like I said, you don't have to use the cheese. Okay, now we just got to bake it for a little while. Okay, the shepherd's pie is done. And there it is. Okay, I let it set just for a few minutes. And now we're going to try some. Okay, that's what it looks like. You see all that? All the vegetables and the nice creamy potatoes and the little gravy with it and the cheese. A little bit of everything. It's going to be hot. Oh, this is such a good comforting food, especially on a nice cold winter day. That's really good. You should give it a try. I'm sure you'll be pleased. Okay, everybody. I hope you have a good one. Y'all take care and God bless you. Bye-bye.